Okay, don't touch it. You know what I mean, that dial. This is SEIU Says. We're on every Tuesday night, 7 o'clock. Talk your guts out about what's going on in the world. I'm Joanna Misnick, the Communication Director of SEIU 73. We have this show for our members, working people in Chicago, and workers all around the world. And our guest this evening is none other than an international president of our union, SEIU, Andy Stern. Can you believe it? He goes on the Colbert Show. He's in Fortune magazine, and look at he comes home to the big studio where we, the members, can talk to him up close and personal and on the phone, 738-1060. Andy, welcome to our show.
Thank you very much.
You know what? I've heard you wrote a book.
I did write a book.
It's causing quite a stir. And its name is A Country That Works. Now, there's a problem with those verbs because it really is a country that could work, right? If we followed the right direction of values.
That's right.
Okay. So you talk a lot about the lost American dream and what we might do to get it back. In a nutshell, Andy, what is that dream? Where did it go? And how can we get it back?
Joanna, I love this country, and I think America is a gift. And its greatest gift is that people have come here from all over the world. All they wanted to do was work hard and hope their work would be valued and rewarded. But more importantly, they wanted their kids to do better than their parents.
Absolutely.
That was the American dream, that every generation of kids would do better than their parents. And despite a civil war, 2 world wars, recessions, depressions, natural disasters, 42 presidents, the American dream has existed up till now. 52% of all parents say their kids are going to do worse than they do.
Today they say that.
That's not the America we want, and that's not the America we need. We have to put America back on track.
And they're saying that because half of them still live with them.
They can't get rid of them.
Yes. So, okay, so the American dream is gone in terms of constant upward mobility. Yeah?
Well, it doesn't have to be, but right now, if we don't do something as Americans, that's the fate our children and grandchildren are going to face.
Right, so that's, I think, for our members out there and for the union members who watch our show, the issue is, how can we crawl out of this morass? What is it we can do with the strength we have as union members to change things around as best as possible?
Well, first is we just have to appreciate this is not our fathers' and grandfathers' economy.
Right.
I mean, the world really has fundamentally changed. We're living through a profound, transformative economic revolution. The amount of transistors that were produced last year were greater than the amount of grains of rice. And the transistors cost less. You know, I bought my kid a Furby a couple years ago.
Oh, yeah, the Furby.
That has 4 times.
I wanted one.
That has
it's okay.
I would have gotten you one, Joanna. But that has 4 times the technology of the Apollo spaceship that landed on the moon.
My God.
84 billion emails will be sent today when 1993 there were no emails. So the world is in a very different place.
Yes.
That's
Number one.
Got to change.
Right.
Change is inevitable.
Right.
Progress is optional. So
I like that slogan.
So we need to change. And if we're going to progress, we need to build an American economy where people come together and work together and change. There's only been 3 ways we've ever distributed wealth in America, and that's the good news. This isn't Rwanda. It isn't Bosnia. There is so much money in America. The stock market's at record high.
Right.
Salaries of corporation executives
We're
are
just
at record
not getting
high.
any.
Exactly. It's not being
The
distributed.
trickle-down is baloney.
And the market's not working. And we need to admit that, too. Alan Greenspan says the gap between the rich and the rest of the population is growing so wide and so fast it threatens democratic capitalism.
Alan Greenspan. Make a note of that.
Bob Rubin says there's no broad-based economic growth. Warren Buffett says the market's not working for poor people, so the market is not going to work. So when people tell you, well, let's just let the market solve this
they
problem.
were telling us like that in the early 90s till
just
it was
like trade was going to solve our problem,
That's right.
just like high-tech jobs were going to solve our problems. We need a different kind of plan.
Okay, we're going to take one call to relieve the phone system. Hello, you're on the air.
Hi.
Hi.
Hi. I just want to know, you talk about trade and everything like that. I know Change to Win and SEIU is leading the way with Change to Win. Have we given up on new trade agreements that work in our favor, or is that something we're just not looking on? Or?
Well, I think just to the contrary, I think we need trade agreements that work for America. I think America needs a plan. When Ireland had a problem, its biggest export were its people, it made a plan, and now it's the second most successful economy in Europe. China has a plan.
Right.
Other countries have a plan. America has no plan. We can't fix our battleships with steel made in America. What kind of defense is that of our country? Our soldiers wear uniforms made in other countries. I mean, America has a way to keep jobs here, to ask for fair trade, and also recognize, though, that the world is becoming much more integrated and much more global, and we need, as unions, to think about that as well.
All right, we'll take another call. Hello, you're on the air.
Hello?
Hello.
Hi, Mr. Stern. How are you, sir?
It's Andy. How are you?
Good, good. I was reading your book, and I see where it says, don't let them fool you. So what was your idea on that?
Well, as I was saying before to Joanna, people will say, oh, there's no problem. The market will solve the problem. High-tech jobs will solve the problem. You know, the economy will naturally, we're just in a downward cycle. And then there's the education diversion. And I want to be clear about this. I think every kid deserves the maximum amount of education they can get. Every child deserves a chance. But the truth is, we will only require 1% more jobs in America with college educations by 2012. Only 8 of the fastest 30 growing jobs in America require a college education. So all these very smart people who want to say, just get an education, that'll solve the problems, I want them to answer to the college kids who graduated since 2001, who are making 5% less than they did when they graduated college, and have more loans than they ever could have imagined when they first started school. So we just can't have this pablum answers to very complicated questions that people divert us from going to the problem. We have the wealth in America. It's just not being shared fairly.
All right, so before we take another call, what can we do as unions to crawl out of our old-fashioned skin and do something to start a process that will wake us up to the 21st century economy? I know your book talks a lot about it, but...
Yeah. I mean, I think unions, first of all, are part of the solution. But we have to be modern and dynamic and 21st century unions. I mean, most workers don't go to work to try to create problems on their job. They're looking for someone to solve them. And they're looking for ways to provide quality service to the citizens or their patients, whatever they may be. So we need to start with that premise. We got to try to find employers. And believe me, I know how difficult it is, who want to build a different kind of relationship and take that model and expand it. We have to think about having global unions. I mean, today, our kids are being driven to school in school buses. The largest for-profit school bus countries are multinational. They're not United States companies. They're headquartered in London. So we have a global campaign now to try to make sure that our school bus drivers, who are American citizens, you know, are getting the kind of wages and benefits. They can own a home and raise their family and live the American dream. But it takes a global kind of interaction. And finally, we have to change our healthcare system. I mean, it is the horse and buggy healthcare system. We are the only country in the world who thinks we can put the price of healthcare on the cost of our products and then compete with other countries and companies who don't do that. It is insane. America needs a plan where we take healthcare off the back of the employers and make it universal. Everybody has quality, affordable healthcare in America. We can do that. Every other major industrial nation has done it already.
And this is a moral imperative now. It's not even just a practical imperative.
Yeah, it's a moral imperative. We have 46 million people without health insurance. And last year, sadly, for the first time in a long time, less kids have health insurance than the year before. That's not America.
No, it shouldn't be. Hello, you're on the air. Hello.
Hello.
You got on the air.
Hey, well, I'm happy to have Andy Stern in town.
Thanks.
You know, I've been watching this show for a while, and to have Andy in is really it's a good job of SEIU. I want to ask, and I think you just answered, I've heard your stats in regards to the transistor, and I mean, goodness, our soldiers don't have uniforms that are made here in the United States. But I guess I wanted to ask a question, and you answered a little part there, about the universal health care. Where do you see that fight going? I mean, how do we bring that to the forefront of our politicians, our communities, and to the employer, so we can bring a kind of like a team together to fight that concern that we have?
That's a great question, and I should just take a second here and say, you got to thank Local 73 for what it's done. I mean, this is a unprecedented kind of activity that's part of finding solutions to problems, because now we can talk together as workers, as unions in a community about issues like healthcare. So thank you, Local 73. I think we need to just appreciate, one, the employer-based healthcare system's over. It morally is.
Do the employers appreciate that?
Well, I wrote an article in the Wall Street Journal
about figure that out,
about horse and buggy healthcare. I wrote a letter to the Fortune 500 CEOs.
Yeah.
And interestingly enough, a lot of them called back and
they said, understand this, right?
Yeah, they said, you're right. I mean,
So what are they, chicken? They don't want
well, it's really amazing that people that have mapped the genome, conquered
Yeah.
the internet, built global corporations
Don't
can't
wanna
get
touch
out
it. Don't wanna touch
and be
it.
good Americans.
Yeah.
Just get out and say, I'm a business person, and
Right.
yeah, I do want to make money, but I don't believe I can make money by putting the healthcare on the cost of my products. And two is it's wrong that 46 million people
Right.
don't have healthcare. Those are my sons and daughters and
Right.
members of my community.
Right.
And the business leaders need a little bit more courage here, Joanna.
Mhm. Well, obviously, they're not getting much encouragement from the politicians.
Not at all.
Isn't that really where the bottleneck is? I mean, none of the standardized pals and the parties are coming to them saying, hey, we'd like to take the lead on restructuration of healthcare in this country. So it's
Well,
all tied with where we put our
Yeah, and I think
political dollar.
I think our political leadership is trying for incremental, not fundamental change.
Yeah, yeah.
And we're way past tinkering
And
around
they've thrown
the
it
edges.
to the states,
Yeah,
So,
and the states don't have the resources.
A dime. Don't have a dime. Hello, you're on the air. Hello.
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 Andy, this is about education again.
Go.
Go ahead.
Next year, as you know, No Child Left Behind is coming back up for reauthorization, and it's been widely criticized basically for reducing everything about public schools to a test score and one simple-minded and simplistic number. How are you developing to deal with this at the national level?
Well, one of the biggest problems of No Child Left Behind, besides whatever you think about the concept, is we forgot to fund it. So often we have these great ideas in Washington, D.C. about what we expect cities and states, counties to do, and we say, well, great, go do it, except we're not going to give you any money to do it. And that was a fundamental issue of No Child Left Behind, and everybody admits it, but no one's done anything about it. Secondly, I do think testing matters. I mean, we are watching now our urban schools fail our kids. Only 6 out of 100 graduates of the Chicago public schools go to college. Now, something's really wrong, and we should be able to compare how do kids in Chicago schools with same amount of free lunch, same racial and ethnic and income demographics, how do they compare to kids in Los Angeles, and find out, are our schools doing better or worse? But I agree with you, testing, just teaching to a test, is not the way we're going to solve this problem, but we do have to measure outcomes. It's not enough to say, well, we're trying, because the kids are the ones paying the price.